Hi, this is Remembering the Past, the show where we talk about people who've died recently who've had a profound effect on our history, our society, or our culture. Tonight we're going to start out with our feature, Burt Katz, aka Burt. Burt died at the age of 78, and he was the Michelangelo of pizza here in Chicago. He had a little place called Burt's Place near the Morton Grove metro station. I used to take people there all the time, talk to Burt. It was recognized in magazines, on television, and the pizza was absolutely sublime. He started a couple other pizza places in Chicago, so he's an important part of the Chicago culinary history. He was a nice Jewish boy from Logan Square, went to Roosevelt High School just like my mother and our IT genius Sid, and he and his wife Sharon made Burt's Place into a pizza shrine. Here Burt talks about his pizza philosophy.
It's Burt's.
It's got pizzas and pizzas and pizzas and pizzas and goddamn things and more of them.
And this is the guy, Burt Katz. He's been feeding the hungry, huddled masses some fine pizza here for 40 years. Why is your pizza the best? What makes it the best?
It's a little different. It's not what they call Chicago-style pizza per se. It's not the real thick, 3 or 4 inches thick, and it's a little more moderate, a little thinner crust. It's very well balanced off between crust and product on top and what have you.
And one of the TV stations got one of those young female reporters to go around with Burt for a day.
It's no secret that Chicago is home to the original deep dish pizza. But what you might not know is that behind this humble facade, better known as Burt's Place, is the man who's dishing out what may be the best pies in town.
Well, basically the only entree, if you will, is Chicago-style pizzas. We make one style, and hopefully we make it well.
And today, I'm headed to the Village Marketplace where Burt stops every morning to get the ingredients for his famous pies. Burt, you started without me.
You're
really
late. You're really late.
Don't you have someone that does this for you?
No, I take care of it myself. It works better that way.
Yeah. For being 77 years old, Burt has a lot of energy. I mean, it's 8 in the morning right now. I'm still waking up, and he's been up since 3 a.m. And whether I'm awake or not, I'm about to find out what grocery shopping with this pizza master is like.
You can start picking up some of these peppers for me.
Okay.
Don't start an avalanche. Why don't we get some banana peppers?
All right.
And you know which one they are? No,
No, I don't. How did you know?
I know, my dear. We use a lot of fresh mushrooms.
There's the mushrooms.
All right, let's go.
Do you come here every day for fresh ingredients?
Every morning. Fresh ingredients is paramount. All right, I think we're just about ready here.
I haven't been to the grocery store in so long.
I can tell.
How can you tell?
How can I tell? It's obvious to everybody but you.
Burt's funny. He's giving me a hard time. After everything is bagged and checked out, a short drive takes us to Burt's Place, which he opened back in 1986. And it's there that I meet the rest of Burt's workforce. Well, here it is, Burt's Place. So where's the staff?
Well, you're looking at 50% of the staff. The other 50% is my wife, Sharon. She's right over here.
Hi, Sharon. Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you. Thank you for your help.
We got a lot of work for you to do. Maybe we'll hire you, maybe not.
So let the job interview begin.
This is a knife.
Oh, I didn't know you hold this end.
Well, you'll find out soon.
Is that enough?
No, that's not enough. Why are you stopping there? I fill this thing up.
To the top?
No, to the bottom.
I like Burt. He gives you a hard time, but it's all good fun. He's a pizza wizard.
I told you haven't been in the kitchen in a long time. Like 23 years or so. That's the base. You got to get it spread out evenly around the whole base.
Okay.
And all you do with that is just press it down. The pan style that we make is made actually in a steel seasoned pan. The dough is very light in texture.
I
You
love
like
cheese.
Take a piece and chew. Nice.
That is good cheese, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Now, where do you get the cheese from?
The milk of cows.
In typical deep dish fashion, we pile on the fresh ingredients, which includes everything from jalapenos to peppers and mushrooms. Once the toppings are laid out evenly, these pies go into the oven for 20 minutes. Okay, I've been dying to try this deep dish pizza all day. Now I finally get to do it. The dough, though, it's so good. The crust, everything.
The dough is part of the pizza. It's not a platform to put things on.
This is my kind of pizza. This is good.
That's the best pizza I've ever eaten. We've been eating Burt's Pizza since we've been in high school. He was basically the first person to make deep dish pizza.
So we order an extra large just to take some home.
If I had to describe Burt's Pizza to somebody who can't get here, too bad for you.
Well, Burt, thanks for letting me help out today.
You did a very good job. But a hostess, keep your day job. This is Burt's Place, Morton Grove, signing off.
Burt, gonna miss you a lot. Well, we're gonna give the lefties some significant time tonight. We're gonna start with Delmer Berg, who died recently at the age of 100. He was a nice Jewish communist boy from Anaheim, and he was the last known surviving member of the Abraham Lincoln Brigade. During the Spanish Civil War from 1936 to 1939, almost 40,000 men and women from 52 countries, including 2,800 Americans, volunteered to travel to Spain and join the international brigades to fight fascism. The U.S. volunteers who served in the various units came to be known collectively as the Abraham Lincoln Brigade. Hemingway wrote about them in For Whom the Bell Tolls, and they've been romanticized because they were fighting the fascists, Franco, and Hitler's surrogates, but in reality they were fighting for some pretty nasty people too, because they were backed by the Soviets. Those were Stalin's guys and Stalin's secret police, and they were stabbed in the back at Munich, and then stabbed even worse in the back during the Hitler-Stalin Pact of 1939. But let's give them their credit. They were fighting the fascists and Hitler. They were fighting for their cause, and as I said, they've been romanticized, even though they were on the losing side in Spain. Here's Delmer Berg to talk a little bit about it.
I had no military training in Spain. For one thing, I didn't need it. I had more military experience than just about all the rest of the guys there. Very few of them had the extensive military experience that I had. So they didn't argue with me. They sent me to the International Battalion of Aircraft. There were 4 batteries and 1 Spanish battery, Czech, French, German. We had 76 millimeter anti-aircraft guns. They were some of the biggest guns that were in those days. And they were Soviet guns. And first they sent me to Barcelona. And then they bang, bang, back again. They sent me to the front. What they was going to do was organize an English-speaking battery also, because they had the 4 batteries already, but they was going to take guys from the infantry, organize an English-speaking battery. So they sent us to the German battery at the front, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't get the guns. They dispersed those guys back to the infantry, and we heard that about a number of them that were killed after they had gone back to the infantry. They put us in telephone communications, which stretched lines from one battery to the other and battalion headquarters and wherever else we had been. We laid the line from when they blew up the bridge on the Ebro. We had to lay the line from their command post to the bridge, because their communications outfit had got lost in their retreats. We were more on the west side. So when Hemingway in his movie talks about blowing up the bridge, he didn't know what he's talking about. Us guys do, we did it.
Well, we're going to move on now to a different generation and make another left turn with the Rev Daniel Berrigan, who died recently at the age of 94. Daniel Berrigan and his brother Philip, who was also a priest, were the leaders of the Catholic left Vietnam anti-war movement in the mid and late 1960s. They and a number of other religious leaders and Catholics centered anti-Vietnam War activity around Catholic doctrine. The movement was most notable at the height of the Vietnam War in May of 1968, when they got a Special Forces manual, learned how to make homemade napalm, and broke into a selective service office in Catonsville, Maryland, and with the cameras rolling, burned a bunch of draft records and then said prayers afterward. They were all arrested. They became known as the Catonsville Nine. Daniel Berrigan was given 3 years, but he went underground for 2 years before he turned himself in. He was given sanctuary in Boston for much of that time by your leftist gadfly Howard Zinn. Those guys went to North Vietnam once. Daniel Berrigan turned himself in and wound up serving about 2 years. Here's a report from Baltimore television on the Catonsville Nine, and it includes a later news report by Walter Cronkite.
Dan Berrigan and Phil Berrigan began to make their moves in those years of the 60s, and I was interested in what they were doing.
Officially, and we feel that as individuals we're going to have to speak out in the name of Catholicism and Christianity.
They became known as the Catonsville Nine. A group of 9 Catholic activists were among the first to publicly protest the Vietnam War in May of 1968. Taking draft cards from a selective service office in Catonsville and setting them on fire with homemade napalm, then prayed while they waited to be arrested.
We make our prayer in the name of that God whose name is peace and decency and unity and love. Amen.
Sympathizers inside the court gave a standing ovation today in support of 9 Catholic pacifists who went on trial in Baltimore. Their charge was seizing and burning draft records in suburban Catonsville.
The trial at Catonsville Nine became a fairly popular play about Vietnam resistance. I remember in high school, Mr. McMahon, our English teacher, who was probably part of the Catholic left, had us put it on, and it was pretty impressive, I have to admit. Here are some people from the Catholic left talking about the movement.
The Catholic left was really a faith-based part of a larger movement dedicated to peace in Vietnam and peace generally and social change. A lot of my work was motivated by my understanding of the gospel, my commitment to Catholicism and Christianity, the teachings of Jesus.
The Sermon on the Mount and Turn the Other Cheek and all of that kind of thing. And I began to rethink my ideas and so forth and say that, well, if the Christian truth is to be preached, it's got to be without guns. It has got to be without killing. And that Jesus would have died for the ones who killed him. And that would be the only solution. So that's how it kind of got going.
Our church has failed to act officially, and we feel that as individuals we're going to have to speak out in the name of Catholicism and Christianity.
And all of a sudden here's a significant number, not only of Catholics, but priests and nuns opposing their government, openly opposing their government, breaking laws. So I think it was a quality of astonishment to the fact that not only was it left, but it was Catholic left.
Here's Daniel Berrigan near the end of his life talking about the decision to burn draft records.
But the idea of putting myself into the furnace of the king or being thrown there was pretty shocking and new. So I told Philip, give me a few days to think this over and pray over it, and I'll let you know. So I did. I went through some very serious soul searching and talked to my family. Couldn't see, I will put it negatively, I couldn't see any reason not to do it. I didn't want to do it, but I couldn't not do it.
Well, we're going to close tonight by moving out of politics and briefly discussing Remo Belli, who died recently at the age of 88. He was a drummer, but his most important contribution was he was the man who invented the synthetic drum head. Before him, most drums were made of animal skins. That's where the term playing the skins comes from. But he made drum heads out of mylar, a DuPont plastic, and in the 1950s he saved a lot of animals and made the drums a ubiquitous instrument, especially in rock and roll. Here he talks a little bit about the drums.
My name is Remo Belli. I'm the CEO of Remo Incorporated, and we're drumhead and drum manufacturers. Literally, the drum is everywhere. The drum represents humanity in a very interesting way. Fortunate for me, that rhythm, the component part of music, just happens to turn out to be the single most important part. But my legacy is that whatever contribution we can make to humankind, that it would help in any way improve. And that's all I'm interested in.
Well, I'm going to close on that note. I want to thank my producer and IT genius, Sid Tepps. Remo Belli got an endorsement from Gene Krupa, and he toured with Anita O'Day, which gives me an excuse to close with my favorite Anita O'Day record. This is also dedicated to Burt Katz, who happened to be a jazz aficionado as well as a great pizza maker. So, Burt, if you happen to be listening up there, here's a little bit of Anita O'Day singing Opus 1.
They're racking their brain to think of a name to give to this tune so Frankie can croon. And maybe old Bing will give it a fling, and that'll start everyone humming the thing. The melody's dumb, repeat and repeat. But if you can swing, it's got a good beat, and that's the main thing to make with the feet. Cause rock and rhythm's ruling the day, so they call it Opus 1. Come on, latch on and jump. Hey.